Okay, if I can give it to DreamWorks, I gotta give it to Disney. The new logo was a tight reimagining. I honestly can't decide if anthropomorphized fire would always be cold, like people from Florida who have to come back to the Northeast, or always hot, like, well, fire. But him giving her a blanket makes me think about that. Isn't that why we're here? What a good husband. Also, while we're here, I love everything about this simple opening. Thomas Newman's fairly typical opening to the score with what appears to be a light on a boat moving through the fog, only to learn that it's the people creating the light just as the vocals kick in, adding wonder to what feels like an emigration story even before we see what's going on. And when you make your main character's elements, ignoring that Leeloo Dallas Multipass is oddly absent, you gotta bring people in, so why not go buck wild with the city? Ha! Trees are people! And your parents thought Fern Gully was tree hugger indoctrination. It's the actual air people that fill up the blimp. Smart energy conservation. I think. No one truly knows how blimps work. Also, many people would judge a leashed child, but when they can accidentally float off into oblivion, you tie those babies up. Very unlike the Pixar short Float, where I think the message was the opposite of that? Unclear. Just a quick glance at the waves of immigration very clearly shows that fire wasn't a part of the city when Bernie and Cinder arrived. Simple and concise visual storytelling.
How about we just go with Bernie and Cinder?
Huh. This would be like if I went to a new land where I was the strange man sticking out and they couldn't understand my language, so they said, how about we just call you beautifully bearded Adonis? Just offensive stereotyping.
Hot logs for sale.
He said logs, hot logs. Not the very normal thing street vendors are usually yelling about, dogs, hot dogs.
Hey, watch it, Sparky.
Goodness, the Bernie Cinder thing felt off, but that's at least definitely xenophobic. Again, more totally normal behavior. You see, we're humans, but we keep this human over here that doesn't think or talk, and sometimes we break a piece off and eat it. It's cool, no worries. It's been alive for centuries. Don't look it in the eyes. I should probably stop writing and go to bed for the night. Sneezing makes her glitch out of existence for a second. The fire people are so kinetic. It's a very clear feat of animation. And there are so many ways to have fun with the very dynamic, undulating properties of the fire people that make sense since oxygen feeds fire and makes it grow. Even their faces that are static are not static. They're always moving, just returning to the same shape with every dance of the flame.
Nobody waters down fire.
Yeah! Shasharisha!
Ooh, look, we've seen the reasons for Bernie's prejudice. And these kids are little sulfur-laden water teens, but yeah, we aren't born prejudiced. It has to be taught. Just a sad reminder that even though it's a sweet moment between father and daughter, we don't always think through what we're passing on to our kids. The set design is just incredible with all the reimagined fire people snacks, bark thins, gasahol, wood chips, falafel mix, frosted flames, shredded wood, and fire smack cereals. And that looks like a Butterfinger, so I can only assume it's a blighter finger? No pun stone unturned. That's a pretty insane skill they just gloss over. Is he not impressed because every fire person can do that, or just because he's seen her do it? Either way, we're impressed.
If you'd ever get up off your lazy ash.
Look, I'll always encourage people to say nice things to each other, but if you're gonna start throwing around fire puns like this, we're gonna be best friends. Me in this movie. Ha! Matchmaking. That's not even a pun.
Sorry, but it'd take an act of God to get me across that bridge.
More like a strong wave. Huh. You'll have to wade through the. Nope. She'll need to wade into that situation. Nailed it.
An act of God or an act of Claude?
Appropriate reaction. Love all the English and then I assume Fire-ish language signs in Firetown. Matchbooks. It's pun heaven. Barbecue stroller. Triota.
Winner, winner, charcoal dinner.
What a realistic touch in the animation to have her instinctively and sweetly stop the door from slamming when she noticed her dad is sleeping.
Be back in 5 minutes.
At first I was like, okay, so the different flame hues are just like natural different skin tones, but then they confirmed that going purple is dangerous and seemingly a sign of anger. So like, do some of these people just run angry all the time? Is this kind of like Earth 65 where you can always see people's emotions? I love that we see tears before we even meet Wade. Crying is a big part of who he is.
Flame!
Pretty convenient that the curse words start with an F.
Flame!
The breaths, each one increasing or decreasing her flame intensity, just like a real fire. This sequence is such a fun contrast to her time bouncing around Firetown, where she clearly fits in comfortably, and now she's in a new part of the city where she's a danger to everything and everyone. Just realizing that all of the elements seem pretty much invincible. I guess the tree people might have a different experience getting hit by a car, but Ember burned this guy's hair for needles off, and he was mildly annoyed. I think I'd like to live here, some 17776 vibes. Never mind. Ha, it's a bushy beard. Sorry, beautiful beard. I love the little heat ray distortions around the fire people at all times.
Always trying to water us down.
He was a water person, Dad?
But hey, look at that. She grew on her own and didn't carry on the same level of prejudice that her father had.
You're so hot.
Compliments.
You're smoking.
Compliments.
Are you done yet?
Yes, please.
Generosity.
Toot toot.
Do clouds fart? This movie is bringing up a lot of unresolved things for me. Great slogan, though. I mean, there are lines you'll inevitably meet while exploring the limits of your team's slogan. Kerncraft 400 can't beat it.
Bring some wind!
Okay, they're in on it. I appreciate that.
Oh no!
So far, Ember's purple anger flame has been the source of the conflict in the movie, so this moment builds up to what we assume will be another blowout, making things even worse, but instead, it's Wade that calms her down. It's sort of subtle and under the radar because he's such an absolute goof, but it's important to the story that it's his empathy for someone else that snaps her out of it. Ha! A real wave, where your body becomes one with the person sitting next to you. All right, back to not wanting to live here. Oh, and I'm back in. If that's legal in this game, I'm really starting to get jealous.
I bet this is connected to that fluffin' leak.
So everyone has an F word. Wade always notices and appreciates the beautiful shapes and refractions that Ember's light makes. Enjoying each other's fruits. That's terrible in the world of the racial metaphor, but understandable in the element reality, which makes this movie a little confusing sometimes. But look at the security guard's name tag. You might have to actually read it out loud to get it. Ray Nide. Rainy day.
The building flooded a few years later, so I missed my one chance to see a Bibisteria.
But then also water ended up being the real danger to the garden, so even in elemental reality, they should have let them in.
You must have been so scared.
Dang, empathy on steroids. The usual response to outrage is to mirror the outrage, but Wade saw through the anger immediately and it took her by surprise.
Sometimes when I lose my temper, I think it's just me trying to tell me something I'm not ready to hear.
That's like... I may have to go have a think about that one for a bit. I know I should be scared for Wade, but that scream is next level.
Maybe a little pruning?
That's a good line. I sincerely think that Wade had no clue what was going on, but it's both an inside joke and a bid for connection. See, the best riz is just being your genuine self. The colon dots are flames. All right, man, I was just singing your praises. Keep it together. I kid. He's a crier. Nothing wrong with that. Man, these are two characters made of non-solid state matter, and that was one of the most endearing moments of blossoming love, flirting. I mean, dang, that whoops, forgot people can see me for a second look when staring at your love is so perfectly relatable. Again, Wade is the reason she calms down, and he's not even there this time. Lauv out here just warming our icy cold hearts with his enchanting falsetto melody, this upbeat vibe moving us along through their date and intensifying the connection we're watching unfold. It's good, is what I'm saying. This feels like a shot made for the world if meme, where it's always the weirdest thing, like the world if Groundhog Day was in July.
It's the minerals. Check this out.
Oh, okay, I was all the way wrong. I'm just happy it doesn't like shift depending on what they eat. Look, this raises a lot of questions about elements wearing clothes, but you know what? I don't have to wear plenty of the things that I do. Sometimes you just don't feel right leaving the house without a velour cape.
Dad, different guy. Not all water looks alike.
The cringe face she's giving. This dude's in love for sure. Ha! Fire and water moving closer together. Yeah. What a visual representation of the feeling of failure. We shrink inside ourselves. She's literally shrinking as her flame is dying down.
I think you're even more beautiful.
Ha! She lit up at that one. Again, literally.
I've just never been punched in the face with beauty before.
Look, I got a wife, but if you're looking for love, I hope you're taking notes from Wade.
I'll have Gail come by right afterward.
You think this will be good enough for her?
Honestly, it's hard to know. She could go either way.
Because she's wind. I like the idea of fire people just smoldering in a log as embers to sleep overnight. Realizing that this dude's epic mustache is made of like white caps made me finally realize that Wade's and most of the water people's hair is the same way, and I'm likening it to frosted tips. Can't change my mind, it's just the style here. Ha! Makes doormanning a lot easier when you can create waterfall blockades, doesn't it? Falls. They never miss.
Oh, I'm so excited to finally meet you. Do we hug or?
Checks out that the person Wade got some of his sweetness from is this lady who doesn't think twice about offering to hug the person made of fire. Gives new meaning to that 60s sunken living room design. I'll take it.
That's my brother Alan and his wife Eddie.
Alan, your name is boring and it sucks. Eddie, as a circular current of water, you've got my vote.
Marco, follow!
Jude win right there. Kid loves a good pool game.
Do you die if you fall in water?
Probably seems far-fetched to people who haven't spent a lot of time around kids. It isn't. They will murder you for the gag.
That's my little sib Blake and her girlfriend Ghibli.
Oh wow, just going for it there. Yeah, Ghibli is always a win.
You speak so well and clear.
This time it's Wade's face. There are a couple microaggressions and some casual racism thrown around, but the idea that this is way more about the struggles for second-generation immigrants is starting to come into focus. The uncle thinks he's paying a compliment, Wade is flabbergasted and disgusted, and Ember just lets it roll off her shoulders. Pretty great representation.
And he's deathly afraid of sponges.
No.
I was traumatized.
I mean, yeah, that seems really traumatizing. Haha, little Jimmy still hates Wells because of that time he was trapped down there for hours and last he was stopping a bank robbery or something. I'm sure that was an episode. Look, that is gorgeous and your talent is unquestionable, but that looks nothing like the picture he broke. Points for flair, though.
Ooh, thought bubble.
Gross.
And all I want now is to be near it, near you, together.
That's not Riz, that's just love. And now that Mamadou Athie's smooth as silk voice is sincerely showcasing love, I'm feeling icky about my got a wife joke earlier, because that lady is my partner in all things. See, even I'm learning from Wade.
I don't think I actually do want to run the shop.
I know it's a pretty standard concept that we get angry rather than deal with issues, but the way Wade put it earlier is so concise. And Ember probably knew it from that moment, but still couldn't admit it to herself.
I think it's just me trying to tell me something I'm not ready to hear.
That's ridiculous. Because the only way to repay a sacrifice so big is by sacrificing your life too.
I think we all understand what she's saying, and it's a selfless perspective, obviously. And as a child with parents, I can see why she'd think that. But as a dad, good Lord, please don't let my kids ever say or think anything like that about me. Your parents don't want you to sacrifice your life for them, literally or figuratively. They've done everything they're doing specifically so that you won't have to. You can't keep this dude down. Like, the flooded toilet. That's awful. A clogged drain. It's not much better. Like when you drink a bunch of water and then you throw up and never mind.
I was gonna tell you tomorrow, but I'm too excited to sleep.
I'm sorry, did Disney just reference the greatest commercial of all time that was for their own theme parks?
Okay, guys, back to bed.
We're too excited to sleep.
Too excited.
I heard that.
But my father did not return the bow.
See, now that's toxic parenting. Different cultures have different expectations, but withholding from your kids is never helpful or positive.
And you're gonna need a pair of boots.
Ha, she's got boots, and they are the smallest boots I've ever seen.
Why do they even have these?
Obviously just to keep the tree people out. Ah, the boots were for the bubble. Huh, gonna need to brush up on my living fire wearing rubber boots inside air bubble underwater physics. This is absolutely gorgeous and such a thoughtful gesture from Wade with only a moderate risk of death. And there's something even more beautiful about it because the Vivisteria wouldn't open without Ember there. This look they give each other, I know I keep harping on it, but these two have chemistry. But there's so many different things being said with just these looks.
I could vaporize you. You could extinguish me.
What a great metaphor for every relationship. And the stakes always feel exactly that high. Maybe you don't realize it up front, but who hasn't felt vaporized or extinguished after a breakup? Again, popping open my physics book, that feels correct, like a steam barrier is created. And like, how accurate is this to the first time you touch hands with your crush? I don't know how Thomas Newman keeps creating new pieces of music with entirely new vibes that still capture a loving moment like this.
Getting to do what you want is a luxury.
Even as empathetic as Wade is, he still can't understand her experience, and I give the writers credit for acknowledging that.
Come on, that's crazy, right?
This lady gets it.
We changed each other's chemistry.
Another literal truth that applies to IRL relationships.
Go!
It hurts, but I'll always give props if you successfully white fang someone for their own good. This doesn't apply, go be with the man you love, Ember. You know I like reflections, and this one is a doozy because Ember looks at Firetown, representing her father's wishes and one version of herself, and then over at the city, representing Wade and a different future, and then it isn't until she looks into the glass ball she made for Wade that she sees herself existing with both locations, and that maybe it was a false dichotomy from the beginning? Didn't know we had a motocross champ with Ember, but here we are. Same picture that Wade saw the first time he met Ember.
Ember, I have no regrets.
True love.
But I can't exist in a world without you.
And even more.
I really do love it when your light does that.
See, noticing the small stuff like this is what it's all about.
The shop was never the dream. You were the dream.
My goodness, I thought we were done with the rough parent-child stuff. How many kids have wanted to hear that? How many parents have struggled to express that? What a line, and it's so true. Hugging, what a dad.
You are perfect match. 10 out of 10.
I know it's definitely happier than it is funny, but it's also funny. And let this be a lesson to you, having a good cry can save your life.
I want to have you with me in my life forever.
ever!
Love! The lens flares and rainbow refractions, that's how you know it's true love. Oh good, gentrification. I'm kidding, it looks more like integration. Sometimes if you look closely around Ember, you'll notice a bunch of lens flares.
Drip, drip, drip.
Hey, that's what he did. From the ceiling of the chimney.
Now with more time for hanky-panky.
Aw, exactly what every child wants to hear from their parents. Nope, I'm not crying, not even a little. Why would it matter to me to see Ember give this level of respect to her father that his dad couldn't give him, while Bernie gets to be the dad to his daughter that his father never was? To give her that love and respect and approval, giving a gift and receiving an equally valuable gift at the same exact time? Why would that make anyone cry? Healing your father through your own healing? Even Cinder understands what it means to both of them. Seeing someone love your love, it's like the opposite of schadenfreude. How about mudita from Buddhism? It's the same feeling I get seeing my kids hug or Margot say to Jude, I love you, Judah. Love the symmetry of Bernie stepping off the ramp to start the movie and Ember stepping on to end it. Live back will steal the show to score some hanky-panky. Honestly, movies that don't continue the story a little in the credits are all dead to me now because this is the best thing ever. More hugging. Loving the final ads for things that would only sell the people of Element City. An umbrella that keeps you wet and a first aid kit for starting fires. Ah, there it is, a lighter finger. Spark burst. Maybe I'm just not remembering very well, but I don't feel like we've gotten very many unambiguous love story Disney or Pixar movies recently. Actually, I can't think of a single Pixar one. You could make an argument for Wall-E or Luca, plus love is always at the core, but rarely romantic love, and it was a Disney staple for years. So it's actually kind of refreshing to come back to a classic forbidden love story. Now, it's not the only thing happening, but it's the main thing, and it's done in a proven way that still avoids being cliche for the most part. Wade is really just such a likable, genuine guy, always wearing his heart in his sleeve. It would be hard to not root for them. But there's also a second-generation immigrant story that feels very personal to Peter Sohn, a second-generation immigrant himself. And even though this parent-child relationship has very specific hurdles, there's still a universality to it. Ember tries to live up to her father's expectations, not realizing that all he wants for her is to be happy. She's the dream. The shop was just a way to help her dream come true. And there's something that happens in these relationships that's even more nuanced, where at a young age, kids just want to be their parents. For many kids, our parents are the coolest people we know, partially because they're the only people we know for years and years. So Jude might think being a YouTube guy is cool because daddy does it, and then I foster that and I tell him he'd be great at it because he demonstrates a desire to follow that path, and then at some point we don't know whose dream it is anymore because I'm encouraging something I thought he loved, and he's trying to live up to this future I've created to be just like me. It's a chicken-egg situation that has to happen constantly. And it's never easy to be honest about these things when everyone is trying to save everyone else's feelings. Whether he needs to tell me he'd rather be a streamer or I need to say he'd suck at scripted content, no one is winning, and when those are the only two occupations available, I'm kidding, obviously. He can do whatever he wants as long as it's something I can say at a party without sighing first. Kidding again. I sincerely don't care. I just want him to be happy. And for me, Elemental captures all those messy feelings and relationship obstacles expertly. Like I said, there are specifics that I'll never truly understand. It was never a concern for me that not choosing to be a lumberjack like my dad would be some slight against our French-Canadian heritage. To his credit, my dad never pressured me in any direction and always supported me regardless of what I wanted to do. But many of us deal with a conundrum that is wanting to be our true selves while not letting down our parents. For me, it took becoming a parent to realize that there's nothing Jude or Margot could do to let me down, and I'll be there to help and guide in any way I can along the way. What are we talking about? A movie? Couldn't be. This cast is great, the feels are off the charts, the world building is spectacular, even if I'm left wanting to know more and see more. I didn't have much in the way of expectations, and I really love it now. Next week, a fast one.